with Zachary with Comic Book Resources. Hello, Tommy.
Hello.
Starting off, congrats on the film. I got to see it last night, and it is exactly what I wanted this movie to be.
Thank you. Well, I'm glad to hear that for sure.
And I feel like everybody else, so far, I think my favorite review I've heard about it from other people is Brandon Davis told me in passing, if you've seen the trailer and you love the trailer, you're going to love everything about the film.
Yeah, no, actually, the trailer really, Universal did a great job cutting that trailer because it really embodies the spirit of this film. But hopefully, there's still some surprises in there.
Oh, there's some good shifts, there's good surprises. And we kind of wanted to start there because one of the things I really loved about the film is it manages to kind of juggle every kind of Christmas movie. Like, there's a little bit of Die Hard, there's a little bit of Home Alone, there's a little bit of It's Wonderful Life, there's a little bit of, like David and I were speaking about it earlier, there's so much like Christmas DNA in this film. And David also mentioned that you are a big Christmas fan, like that's a big part of your life. So, what was it like getting to kind of play with all of those different little bubbles and different versions of this of what Christmas means?
Well, I think it all goes back to the when I got the script, my reason for wanting to make the film, because when I got sent the script, all they said to me was like, yeah, it's Die Hard with Santa Claus, which in a way it is, but it's so much more than that. Because when I read the script, I really felt like, yeah, it has the action, it has the craziness, it has the edge and the attitude you expect, but it also feels like a Christmas movie. It really has a beating heart. And so what my approach was like, I really want to embrace that. I really want to emphasize that and explore that even more, because if we can get that right, Santa and his relationship with the little girl and the Christmas spirit and what it means, that just means we can go crazy on the rest of the film, which we did. But no, when the audience leaves the theater, I really wanted to feel like, filled with Christmas spirit and ready for the holidays. That's the goal, even though they just seen a crazy, violent Santa Claus action movie.
It's one of those things of like, it is so sweet because Santa does, like, David does really come across as a Santa. Like, he's got that kind of warmth that is maybe a little rough around the edges, partly because of the film, partly because, David. But it's like this, he really does feel authentic as Santa.
Yeah.
Like, and something I loved about that is, and I wanted to compliment you, I think it's one of the biggest gut laughs I've had all year with any film, is the reveal of Santa's like Celtic Norse like the Viking tattoos with like the oh my god, that was such a good reveal. Because I also love the idea that makes Santa a redemption story. It makes the idea of Christmas a redemptive tale.
Yeah,
Uh,
and that was, when I got the script, I was like, when they told me the concept, it's like, okay, that sounds cool, but how are you going to sell the fact that Santa takes on these guys and comes out of it alive? I wasn't sure about that, but then I read the script and I thought, oh, this is smart. I like this. There was a good solve to that, like his backstory, his Viking heritage, and how can we weave that into our Santa? How can we use that for his journey? And there's a lot of stuff we actually cut in when he tells the story, just because we wanted to keep some mystery there and have people fill out the blanks. But for sure, there's a great redemption story there, and it's about obviously the classical kind of themes you have in Christmas movies, but mixed into this, like I said, the crazy action movie with a Santa with a dark past, who has to tap into that, but at the same time evolve to something different. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff to play with, and David loved that, of course, and he loved the physical nature of it too. Just been able to train. He actually had this very strange regime coming up to the movie, because the film before this, he had to lose a lot of weight, and he was a ghost, I think, in a Netflix film. So in leading up to this film, he was just eating a lot at the same time, just training, trying to get the Santa body, but at the same time, the muscle power. And we kind of decided early on, we don't want him to be fancy. We just got to be basic, brutal fighting, like a George Foreman in his prime. And yeah, that was basically his fist and his skull. That's what he uses to fight. But no, I'm glad you say those things. Those were the things we were aiming for going into it, for sure.
yeah, I love when I read stuff correctly. uh, I did also really want to. I love how lethal you make Home Alone. Like, everybody has a Home Alone idea, Home Alone riff. This is one of the few times I've been like, oh no, he played it like completely straight. These people are dead now.
No, but that's part of the, like, and when I was a kid, I loved Home Alone, but as you get older, you would think, oh, they would they would die if you did those things to them. So that was basically the approach to the scene. All right, let's just do traps very similar to Home Alone, and just let's just see what it does to a human being. And I think what makes it so funny as well is that the little girl, she doesn't realize she's hurting them. She just thinks she's doing like the movie. Oh, it's fun and games.
Oh, I was waiting. I was waiting for her at the end to be like, I knocked them out. And then one of the parents to look up and you see David Arbusson and just uh
Well, we had a line we cut where she walks past one of them, the guy with the bowling ball, and he says, "Oh, I bet he has a big headache tomorrow." And Santa says, yeah, sure, he's got a big headache." But yeah, we had to go back. It was a long story, but it got cut. But it was there, like the recognition of how horrible that truly is.
I am so glad that my impulse was met on some level. Like um, now, one of the other things I really loved about it is this is such a you like it riffs so much on what we think of as Santa. It riffs so much on what we think of in terms of the holidays. But like you said, it is still very firmly a Christmas movie. It still is kind of falling and exploring uh, these cultural concepts that really do kind of bridge us and connect and kind of come across this entire planet. Like what kind of given your own experience and given how much how much you clearly spend like how can I make Christmas horrifying and fun? Like how what surprised you the most? Like what kind of caught you by surprise about kind of playing with songs and playing with Christmas in this light?
Um, I'm not sure what surprised, but you're definitely like what we decided early on is like, okay, how can we, for example, how can we make the action unique? How can we make the fights stand out? And how can we, even within the film, make the fights different? And the answer was just staring at it in our face is like, oh yeah, Christmas. We got to embrace Christmas in every aspect of this film, including the fights. So that's why we use Christmas lights, the star at the top of the tree. We use Santa's sack, the endless gift sack. We use his ability to go up chimneys, reindeer, like, and then of course we have the big scene in the barn where he takes on the 20 mercenaries. We have all this winter gear and the tinsel and the ice skates, and we realized, yes, we should just use all these things in the biggest way possible to really embrace Christmas in every nature of the film. And that was actually part of the fun when coming up with the action, for example, is like, okay, this is how we separate the action from other movies. We just got to go full on Christmas. And yeah, and Santa's obviously powers is something that we use too in a fight, but also in his story. Like in the beginning, he's kind of lost faith. He's lost faith in himself and Christmas and humanity. It's all about consumerism and all that stuff. And through this journey and this friendship with a little girl, he learns more about, again, what it means to celebrate Christmas, what it truly means and what's important. And as he does that, he finds more and more back to his old self, leading up to the final fight when he has got his skill set back in there. So without spoiling anything, and he uses it in a great way. But yeah, no, again, like taking Christmas movies and Christmas in general and just letting it infuse everything in our film, we felt was the way in.
And it works so well. Like I was telling David this as well. My wife got to come to the screening with me last night, and afterwards she was turning to me and going, "Oh, this has been rotation. This is in the Christmas movie yearly rotation now. It works so well on those levels." Now I know I'm running low on time, but I did need to ask because there's a couple of references and a couple of hints of Mrs. Claus. There's a couple of moments where we kind of like, okay, and I spent the entire movie waiting on pins and needles for like who is going to be Mrs. Claus at the end because she's going to be in the sleigh. It's more like we'll cut this bit there after it's come out. But was there ever any impulse to have her appear in the film, or do you have a dream person that you would love to have her show up in the hopeful event of Violent Night 2?
Well, I mean, at one point she was in the script at the end. She came back at the end. But we decided pretty early on that let's just save that. If we're lucky enough to get to make a sequel, let's involve her in a bigger way instead of just a cameo. And let's just hint about her presence in this one. And knock on wood, if people like it, then we get to do another one. Then for sure, we haven't seen the North Pole, we haven't seen the workshop, we haven't seen the elves, and we haven't seen Mrs. Claus. So there's a lot of places we could go and explore in a possible sequel if we get there.
I'm holding my fingers very crossed for that. I really want that sequel. Tommy, that is also all the time I have. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me today.
No, thank you. Thank you for the kind words.
Of course, this film was so much fun, and it's what I tell people all the time. This is one of my favorite parts of this job because I get to talk to talented filmmakers and go, "Your stuff is awesome," and then get to like be happy about it. So
No,
have a good rest of your day. Have a good rest of all of these, and I hope to talk to you again soon.
yes, likewise. Thank you so much.